Okay, let's try this again. A little technical difficulty, but what we're trying to do is explore how to use Photoshop to emulate the look of oil painting, but digitally, using a traditional format. We're going to paint like we would with oils, with maybe a little tips and tricks from Photoshop, but we want to do quick oil sketches. And so far, we haven't been so quick. We're learning through this process together. Photoshop has over 2,000 brushes that come with it for free, but doesn't have a specific digital media emulator built in, like say Adobe Fresco does. So for each brushstroke, texture, smudge, smear, impasto, quality, we've got to use a different brush out of that brush set to emulate that look. So totally doable, but we've got to get experienced. We've got to get a feel for whether each brush works, how they work, how they integrate, how they work together. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to figure this out together. I think most tutorials have like speed painting and it's all super fast, and maybe they explain a few things or a general sort of information about a category of brushes, but really just the hard work, the time investment of experimenting with each brush, seeing how they interact, seeing how they work, is usually just totally glossed over. So that's what this is about. It's maybe long and boring process, but it's a process of learning and discovery, and hopefully we can figure it out together to get that truly oil look in Photoshop. So I'm doing these little 30-minute sketches. I'm trying to do one a day, but every Wednesday and Thursday we'll do a deep dive into a really large format 18 by 24 illustration that has a very painterly quality with a lot of sort of impasto kind of effects. So we'll see what we can pull off together. So let's go ahead and see where we're at the moment. All right, so what we've got, we started with an Inktober prompt crystal and just did a quick pencil drawing of crystal. And from there, we added some paper texture. We threw in a little, scrubbed in a little white background and scrubbed in some shadows. Next, we painted all on one layer our crystals. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to do another 30 minutes and we'll see how far we can get with it today. All right, so this is the layer we've been working on, and we can just kind of lasso another section of this, grab it up, and start painting. At this point, we've got enough kind of color diversity with some magentas and blacks and reds and whites and pinks that we should be able to just eyedropper off of our existing work. Let's see. So let's kind of fill in this back area back here. I kind of like doing these sharp crystals because they, you know, they're fun and they give quick, easy results. But we can fill in some of this other areas too. I actually might make a separate layer for this and utilize separate layers. Why not? We've been doing kind of almost like a plein air style painting, which is obviously an oxymoron in digital painting. But that technique of just kind of working with only one layer, paint on top of paint, and getting the qualities that way. But let's go ahead and since this is a background element, let's put some paint on a further back layer. Now, the brushes that we've been using primarily have been in the oil set, and there's the paint box that comes with the mega pack for free that Kyle has made, Kyle Webster. But if you go down below that, there's something called Real Oils. And the Real Oils aren't the normal paint brushes here. They're actually mixer brushes, and they work kind of totally different. And I know Kyle is always singing their praises, and so that's what we've been using. That's what we've been experimenting with. And I've been trying to pick a different brush each time. Last time we used, I think, Bristly Bob a lot. So let's pick something maybe a little different. Such a long list here. All right, here we are. I'll turn this off. So yeah, we used this Bristly Bob last time for the most part. This time, let's pick at something a little different and see what we get. Let's try this cake brush. I have to say, after experimenting with the Bristly Bob and getting a feel for how it works, I really do like that. Now, with these brushes, you'll notice I have a color picker over here, but there's also the color picker up here, and they work totally different. And when we eyedropper the paint out of our existing color set, we're going to be eyedroppering actually multiple colors at once, just like loading a paintbrush with multiple colors at once. And it's going to display up here at the top. So let's go ahead and pick something as a base, maybe like a medium kind of red color. And also, I'm going to lasso out a section that I want to work on. So let's just, since these are crystals, the lasso tool works really good for these sort of solid colors. All right, B for brush. I'll try to tell you what finger commands I'm using as we go along so that you can follow along. I used to teach Photoshop, and I would make the students memorize like 250 finger commands, but obviously not everybody has them all memorized. So notice when I eyedropper this, I get like a weird color swatch, including some transparency and the white. I don't want that. So in order to fix that, I need to make my brush smaller so that I pick up a smaller swatch. So I'll just use the open bracket on the keyboard, and then I have my bottom button here set as eyedropper, which you can customize this to whatever you want. And I have my top button here set to undo. So that's just my personal preference, but that allows me to just toggle back and forth and pick up paint as I'm working. So I'm going to pick up this kind of mix. So see, I got a mix of light red and dark red, and now I can kind of start to paint this in on this layer here. See what we get. And it's going to fall in behind. And you don't want to kind of paint like you're painting with a crayon, right? You want to paint, which is a quote from Kyle Webster. I'll give him credit where credit's due. But you want to kind of paint in little kind of crosshatchy strokes so that it almost kind of looks like the paint has been scrubbed on. And I made my brush real small so that I could eyedropper that color set, but really the scale of the painting doesn't dictate a brush to be that tiny. You wouldn't paint a huge, I say huge, you wouldn't paint a painting that was 6 inches square or 8 inches square with a paintbrush that was like a little tiny eyeliner thing. So I want to keep that in mind. Now, I want to create some depth between this front crystal and this background crystal. So I'm going to pick up a little more darkness, and we can kind of scrub this in. You can also set, let's see, maybe I'll just pick up one up here because it's bigger. I don't have to keep resizing my brush that way. Since this is a mixer brush, it's going to blend in as we're painting, as we scrub it in. So this is what I normally work on one layer because I don't like toggling back and forth, and I want the paint to blend just like it was a real canvas. Kind of want a really bright highlight, so I'll pick up this and put that up here, and then we can blend it in. Almost just like a little bit of light is hitting that spot. And also, I don't like the dancing ants showing my selection. I want the selection there, but I'm going to hit Command H to hide that. So it's still there. I think I'm going to put in some of this purple right here. I don't like that black. So see, what's nice about having my undo right there. And there's not really any right or wrong answer to this. That's kind of, it's kind of the Bob Ross mentality, like happy little trees. There's not really anything you can do wrong with this because we've got all this refracted light, all this color bouncing around. We can really do kind of whatever we want, and we're going to get away with it. I think I'm going to leave that there. I want to come back, and we're going to use some different of these blender tools to smooth this out and almost make that like it's out of focus, I think, and just kind of push that back and have it be in contrast to the sharpness of the rest of the crystals. But for now, before the rest of my crystal here in the foreground gets lost, let's go ahead and liner this one. So it's going to be Command D to deselect that. And we can even bring our pencil layer up higher so we can see it. And then we'll eyedropper, or sorry, lasso this. And I'm going to bring it all the way down here because I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of gapping in here from when I had done this, from what we had done the other day. And I'll go ahead and keep this on a separate layer just for convenience. So now Command H is going to hide those dancing ants again, so I don't have to see it. B brings us back to our brush tool. So, you know, I'm really tempted to go back to what I know and go back to Bristly Bob like we were using the other day, but let's keep experimenting with the one that we've got here. That's how you get experience with each brush, is just by using them. You got to use them to figure out how they work. I don't really know what I want to do with this one. We're kind of envisioning that the light is coming in from the side here. If I zoom out a little, if you're just joining us, these are our crystals. And so if the light is coming this direction down, but this little crystal that's here tucked away in the corner is kind of blocked by the others. So I think I'm just going to get some kind of real soft ruby-ish, reddish colors, kind of somewhere between this foreground crystal and this background crystal. So we're just kind of making this up as we go along, folks. So, you know, and look at all the people that have joined. This is awesome. Hello, Tanya. Hello, Jessica. Thanks for joining me and hanging out as we figure this stuff out. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat as we go. Okay, see, I'm getting distracted. So we're only going to work for like 30 minutes, and we've already used up like 10 of those. I don't remember exactly when we started, but let's go ahead and paint this in. So I'm going to select just from the colors that I've already got. Maybe this real bright red, like this as a median. I usually tend to start in the middle when I scrub in colors, and then yeah, well, I mean, heck, I don't know what I'm doing either, Tanya. We're all in this together, trying to figure it out. I've taught Photoshop for 2 decades, but you know, oil painting, emulation, digital media emulation, that's a new journey. So we're all here, we're all starting in the same place. We can all figure it out together. I'm going to scrub in. I'm just going to focus on this one facet. I really like kind of focusing on one at a time, for at least this kind of a painting, for the crystal painting. So let's pick up some darker colors. Are you guys working on any paintings right now for or doing digital media emulation for October Ink? Hey, we all got to start somewhere. We all got to start somewhere. I will say that getting a good base of drawing is really important to help your images do what you want them to do. So the more you can draw, I used to have a college professor at Cal Arts who was an old animator. And he used to say, it was Cornelius Cole III was his name. And he worked on all kind of Warner Brothers cartoons, and kind of like a living legend, really. And anyway, he used to always say, draw, 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 and draw some more. That's like his favorite quote. A couple of other favorite quotes I can't repeat because they're too foul. But that one I can share with you. I really want to bring in a little bit of darkness down here, I think. And I don't want it to be on that layer. Got to stay on the right layer here. I'm going to put so I got a base color, and then I got some highlights. You just learned that shapes can make stuff and it works. Yeah, you're right. It does. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really what we're doing here. I mean, this really lends itself to these crystals, but yeah, I mean, you can really just build it up from the basic forms and then kind of blend those shapes together. Now I wanna put in a bright highlight that's just kind of refracting around here, and I kind of want to do that with a different brush, I think. Let's try this one. I don't really know what's going to happen, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to put in like a something like that, and then blend it back out again. My colors and my pencils. Well, I typically, you mean in the real world, or you mean in digital, like painting in Photoshop? Tanya, can you clarify there for me a little bit? And are you, yeah, I think you have to give me a little more information before I can answer that question. Well, so right inside Photoshop, if you go to, let's see, where is it at? Get more brushes. There's like close to 2,000 brushes right in Photoshop that some were built by Photoshop before Kyle T. Webster came on board to the Adobe team. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks for joining me. This is based on Crystal from the first prompt from October Ink. And we've been doing little 30-minute sessions and just building it up a little by little. Anyway, Kyle Webster made a whole bunch of additional brushes, Tanya, and they're all there. You can download them all. This Real Oils is a brush set that I'm using from him. Colors. I downloaded this Artist Pigments set that emulates what traditional oils would look like. This KC Garza oil swatches. It's a free pack you can get. I think it's on DeviantArt or somewhere. And this is a real basic set of oils. And then this is a larger set of oils. You know, if you were a millionaire and had bought every tube of color of oil that there was. But so this digital, they're all free, and it's great. But typically, I don't want to get too distracted down this rabbit hole of color. Maybe I'll talk about color some other time. But really, you can, let me see if I have. This is the typical workspace that I normally use when I'm painting. And this you know, you could really pick any color. Say I just pick red, and let me deselect here because I had a hidden selection. So I just ping some red, and then I can pick some blue, and maybe some yellow. Okay. Now, since I have my button set here for eyedropper, I can just eyedropper this, and then kind of paint over this and draw these together just lightly. Now, green is weird, so we can come back to green. Or actually, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to fool with it, but green is a weird color to blend together. There's a couple tricks you have to do to get a good green. That's a little Halloween-y. Matches my suspenders. Which I guess if that's what you want, then there it is. So now I can take each of these, and I know that these are all going to be in a family because they're all. So I didn't have to try to like find these or figure them out on the color wheel because I just started with primaries and mixed them. Okay, and then I can do that for all these colors and get my neutrals. And I can come in and I can mix gray in this. Okay, and you just keep mixing, and I know that these are always going to be homogeneous and they're always going to work together because they started with the same parent colors. If you just eyedropper all over the place, you're going to end up with a bunch of weird colors that all have a bunch of harmonic, or I guess it would be chromatic dissonance. Really ugly, right? So traditional painting, you start with only a few tubes of color and you mix it on your color palette. And you want to do the same thing in traditional painting. So I hope that answers your question, Tanya. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the trash. And let's see if we can get this figured out here. I kind of lost my train of thought on my painting, but I think maybe maybe I want to do one more highlight. So let's highlight some white here, and I'm just going to draw that right out of the painting. I turned off my selection, so I've lost my protection of my marquee that I had. No, don't worry about it. Happy to answer questions. I'm here for it. We're here to figure stuff out. We just got to talk through things. I feel like when I talk through stuff, you guys are a help to me, because talking it out loud, talking through it, helps me process somehow. Normally I'm painting like alone and quiet and in my own head, and sometimes I get lost in my own head. So having you guys to talk to helps me out. So just as a reminder, I'm going to archive all these old lessons in my YouTube channel under my username Dweehouse. So if you want to check out the first couple installments of where we got to this point, you can find them on YouTube. They're archived and they'll be categorized. It's kind of hard to search for content in Behance. It's just kind of all there as it happens, sort of stream of consciousness. But I'll have them grouped as playlists on YouTube. And I just started doing that, so there's not much there yet, but I'm going to backlog and load up that stuff as I have time. So anyway, let's go ahead and select this next bit here. I'm going to zoom in so I can see what we're doing. And I'm going to put this back on top. And, oh, now see, look at all that texture, that like canvasy texture that's in there. That's built into that brush that we were using. So I might not actually care for that in this instance. So that might be a good reason to go back to Bristly Bob, like I was talking about earlier. That was the one we started with. But that's the kind of the point, right? It's kind of the point of figuring this stuff out and knowing how they work. So if I hold down Shift, I can add to my selection, and I'm just going to add this, and I'll show you why here in a second. I'm going to focus on this crystal facet, and let's go back to, well, we can try using this wet oil one for a little bit and see how that goes, because we haven't used that one yet, right? I want to keep trying using different ones. So I'm going to hit Command H to hide, so I don't have the dancing ants in my face. The selection is still there, and now we can paint kind of inside the lines without worrying about spilling over into other parts of our content. If you guys have any other questions, please ask. Please ask. That's what we're here for. So I think now as we kind of round this corner, so the light's coming in like this, and we're going to kind of go around to the next facet. So let's think about how those colors are going to be. I think it's going to get darker a little bit. On some of these, you'll notice I actually have them brighter on the back side, because there's that included light that's coming through and refracting around in there and then actually exiting out the back side. But let's start with a medium tone and kind of see what it looks like as we get that in there. Oops, that's a bright tone. Let's try something like this. And remember, just like little cross hatches, it just kind of makes it all blend together and look nice. And I'm going to go a little brighter and a little darker. And you can see what I mean, how I'm bringing some of that purple, how I'm just like color picking from all around the document. Just kind of blending stuff in. And remember, I haven't changed these colors at all over here. This is all happening in this live color set that's responding to, it's like I'm dipping my paint into wet paint, and it's like commingling on my paintbrush. And that's because I'm using these mixer brushes, which are really cool, and I don't think a lot of people use that often. I think I want a little bit of darkness right here on the edge. And a little bit of this. Now some of this canvasy stuff, it's neat that we figured out that that's in that brush, but I don't really want that in my painting at the moment. So that was was that in the thick cake brush? I should have wrote it down. But I can come up here at the top of the Miss Megapack category of paint box, and at the top of each category there's blenders. So see, this isn't a paintbrush either. See, it's like that little smudge, the little finger. pointer icon next to the smudge tool, and I'm going to come in here and just kind of smudge out carefully. Smudge out that canvas. I don't really want that in there. Make sure I still have my selections. I do. Command Shift I is going to invert my selection temporarily so I can do inside here. It looks like nothing happened, but I just inverted what my selection was. So instead of selecting the facets, now I'm selecting everything but the facets. And I pretty much got rid of that texture. Anything that's left is not going to show at the scale that it is when it's done. So Command Shift I is going to invert the selection again. Now I'm just selecting those facets. And reason I selected two pieces of this is because I'm going to hit B, go back to Brush Tool, and I'm going to go back to our oils down here at the bottom. So many paintbrushes. Let's grab this bristly bob. And I'm just going to make it a little smaller, which is the open bracket. I'm going to get a little bit of darks pulled up against this edge so that it mainly kind of makes that pop a little bit against the contrast of the lighter front facet of that crystal. Now let's go ahead and add in the top two facets. These are usually the fastest parts to do. So Command D is to deselect. I'm going to raise this up so I can see, and which is our pencil drawing. And then with L, I'm going to lasso out that facet right there. Command H to hide it. So I think the pencil usually is distracting to me. Okay, so I'm thinking we want not a full-on shine like this because it's kind of blocked, but I'm thinking we want kind of a pretty bright cherry, ruby red, and kind of like what's happening up here. I think that's what we want to do. So I'm still on my lasso tool, B for brush. Can make it a little bigger. I'm just going to give a quick swipe as long as I have the right color. Let me pick something like this. Yeah, let's try it. See what happens. I kind of like it. I can pick up a little black. I think I'm going to step it back. I want a little of this bright red up here at the top. And a little bit of black down at the bottom, just coming up. Oops, a little bit of black. There you go. And I don't have much contrast in my crystal in the background. So remember, this is my selection, Command H. If I hit Command Shift I, it's going to invert it. And you can see that I got the dancing ants out here around the outside edge. That means the selection is flipped over, and I'm selecting everything but my crystal, which means now I can paint up some darkness to help give some additional contrast. Because see, it's almost tone on tone. That's not going to give good definition. So let's lock the transparency on this. So now I can't paint out here. Okay, so now I can only paint inside this. Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm done with that facet. So Command D to deselect, and then let's select the last bit of facet. So come in here. There it is. Now, if you look really closely, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little bit of an edge there that I didn't get. So we'll fix that. We'll fix that with an inverted selection here in a second. And this one, let's do some, this is all real dark in here, so let's do a really bright red. And I think I'm gonna kind of go, see as I change my brush follows me. So I did the brush stroke that went across this way to give almost like the texture of the crystalline surface. So this time I'm going to rotate the brush and do it just a quick swipe that way. So let's be on the correct layer. Let's turn off transparency lock, And let's make sure, yeah, we got the bright red selected. I think I want maybe that red right there. Maybe even brighter. Yeah, like that. Okay, let's see what we got. Do I make layers for every object? No, I typically don't. I typically work only on one layer unless there's a specific reason to isolate it. Good question, Tanya. In this case, this isn't separate layers, this is just separate selections. And I'm only doing that in this case because it's a crystal, so it's easy to just block off with hard selections. So I can deselect. Actually, we're going to Command-Shift-I to invert the selection, like I was talking about earlier. We can zoom in on this and see I've got a little bit of texture showing through. I could leave that alone, and that could just be part of the painterly quality of the piece when it's finished, but I might as well just close the gap layer a little bit. There's not any reason why I need to leave it there. And I can use the opportunity to paint in a little bit of darkish purple to kind of just make that highlight have a little more oomph. Now, we could add some highlights to this. I'm going to go ahead and deselect. Actually, no, I'll leave it on. Let's get some white. I almost never paint with real white ever. And you'll notice that if you look closely in this isn't pure white here. It's like grays and reds and all kinds of stuff going on. But we'll just take a little bit of pure white and I change to maybe a finer liner brush and go a little smaller with it. And I can just paint in a little bit of highlight right in here. There, like that. Let's pick up a little more white. Yep. Command D for deselect. You can zoom out. Now, I've also been hitting these with just a little bit of plain old-fashioned normal paintbrush, if you can believe that or not. So this is just a normal hard round brush, and maybe we hit a little highlight up here. I might use a soft one this time. And then come in a second time. And actually, I want to use just a normal paintbrush. I don't want to use a mixer for this. Okay. See if I can have a steadier hand. Too many cups of coffee. There we go. And then, yep. I think that's good. I don't want to go crazy. I will often put on these crystal things both a highlight and a dark light, if you will, a shadow kind of side. So I might come in and I want it to be not pure black. Maybe something like this purpley kind of dark color. There. Something like that. I don't know, I'm going to experiment with doing a bright red one here. I don't know if I like that. What do you guys think? I think we'll go dark like I was doing the others. Pick up this purpley color. I don't want to go crazy. That's plenty. This is going to be so small, it's not going to hardly show anyway. Let's pick another crystal. Let's do this one, it should be easy. Oh, you know what? Hey Keegan, we are at basically our 30-minute limit. So I wanted to spend about 30 minutes on this. I was hoping to get a couple crystals done. We did. We got some background crystal and a median crystal. I'm going to try to do this again tomorrow night. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's my long haul night. I'll be here for like 2-3 hours from 6 to 9. Sometimes I come in earlier, but usually it's 6 to 9. And we'll work on an illustration. I'll show you what we're working on if you're interested. As soon as this is done saving. We're working on this. Okay, so trying to get a real painterly quality. Okay, so that's what we're working on Wednesday nights and Thursday nights, 6 to 9 Central Time, and I'll archive videos for you on YouTube, so you can check them out there. You can also leave comments for me on YouTube, and I'll be able to see them and respond to them. So you all have a wonderful night. Thanks for dropping by and spending 30 minutes with me. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for another 30 minutes. Take care.